Okay,
John,
Grape 2. It's been, I came down with a nasty intestinal bug on Tuesday morning, so the last 2 days have been not pleasant. Heck of a way to lose 2% of your body weight.
oh,
Um, I have been testing controllers to try and get the disk drives to work with our the Raspberry Pi 4. I've got a lot of points of no, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. The last ditch effort I'm doing now, my main goal was try to use the 4 terabyte spinning Western Digital drives. That was my primary goal. And that still may be possible. I just ordered a StarTech, which is the other controller on a solid state drive that actually got to work quite well. Bill and I both have a 1 terabyte solid state drive working fine with the system. It does not have any issues. So that's a fallback position. I'd really like to use the drives we have. The disadvantage is it will not be in a case. So if that is an out of bounds for Nathaniel, we'll have to work on that. But
no, that's fine with me.
because it's
I mean, if you tell me that you think this is going to be a reliable solution and it
that's the
works,
key. That's the
that's
key. That's the
that's
key. It's
most
gotta it's
it,
gotta work. It's so
yeah. If it
John,
if
what are
it
you
works,
using to connect them? Is that StarTech?
that is, I have a StarTech that's just for smaller drives that works fine. I've tried a couple other different brands that have the external power supply, which is what we need for the 4 terabyte spinning drive
Right.
because it's 12 volts and it pulls like an amp and a half. The two that I've tried with that were not StarTech. They did not work. After a while, they just blow off. They're just gone. You get this logical lockup and
Right.
everything goes off south. So, but I did order this morning the StarTech controller that I think maybe you sent me.
I think I did.
Didn't have it at home. I couldn't find it. And then I came up here to school this morning. There it was on the screen. It's like, yes. So I've ordered one of those. I got it coming in. Hopefully be able
Yeah.
to try that.
Yeah, we've been using Sabrents on our AM Doppler and we're having problems with them now where they had been
Yeah, I felt
reliable.
safe using the Sabrent ones as well because Bill Engelke had used those on his digital RF and had no problems. So I thought it was safe. And damn if I didn't get bit by it.
Yeah. So we had gone to StarTech on a different system. I
Okay.
don't believe there's been a problem.
Okay, good. That's good to know because that's the case. Then I'm going to be ready to ship. Um, I want to get out to the one guy, I think he's in Colorado, Gary. Want to get a hold of him and get one unit ready for him to go.
Sean is on the call today.
Oh, okay, that was Sean. Okay, I was wondering, the name looked familiar. Okay, good. I'll be working with Sean. Looking forward to it, Sean.
All right, we'll look to chat.
I may be leaning on you for some help on the distro too. If you know Raspbian at all, I'm having troubles with this thing booting up headless and the resolution coming up at 480 by 320. It's really good. And I've tried everything with, anyway, we can talk about it offline, but that's one of the remaining issues that we haven't resolved yet.
Okay, cool. I've got a stack of Pis running Raspbian, so.
Okay, good. You're the person I definitely want to work with. Looking forward to it, Sean. So other than the controller stuff, we've been knocking down the last bugs on the Grape 2 console. Kung has been working like a madman, and Bill has been cranking as usual. I mean, he's just amazing. We've got one more bug, and it seems obvious now that I look at it that we have to address, and I'll be talking with these guys about it this afternoon, is that when the external hard drive blows off, we have to flag it. So, but everything is working right. The control P for toggling between the 1 hour peak max mins and the 24-hour works great. Some issues with the satellite count has been resolved, and Kung has made a GPS test, and I'm trying to come up with a sequence for setting the system up, which again, I'm going to rely heavily on Sean to give me feedback on to make sure we haven't missed anything. But basically, when you get the system, you're going to turn it on. They're going to have to set up the GPS antenna. We have a little utility that just sits there and shows you the GPS console, the basically the U-Plox GPS on this screen here. It shows the fixed, the number of satellites, and then latitude, longitude, elevation, and the position, dilution of precision. And you want to get the PDOP number probably under 1.5 before you grab your data for your lat long elevation. I now have that automated so that it takes it from the GPS, so you don't have to be typing in numbers and don't end up in the middle of the Pacific or Atlantic Ocean if you miss a minus sign. Which is very easy to do. And it's looking pretty solid. We've been running, actually my node 1 has been running now for over a week and haven't had any issues even with the older firmware. So I keep updating the firmware as it comes out, but reliability is looking decent. We're not having any weird problems other than the disk controller. One thing I have noticed is that the USB 3 port, if you touch the connector to the drive and you push it vertically up or down, it disconnects the contacts on the thing, and the drive, as you would expect, disconnects. And it locks the system up, and then we don't really see it on the screen other than the fact that nothing updates anymore. It just sort of sits there. So we're going to have to address that, but I think Bill probably can knock that out in about 10 minutes. He's pretty good. It's a pretty easy condition to detect because you can't write to the drive. So, but I'm going to be working with Bill and Kung on that because that has to come up on the screen and say, hey, look, you just knocked the drive offline. But that's really the biggest problem other than getting the drive to work reliably. Well, that sounds pretty ominous, but that's really the big things we're fighting with now. The distro I have is about ready to go. I did figure out a clever way of determining if the drive's not mounted. And I have implemented that, or am implementing that. Kung's got one last thing he's fixing for me. Other than that, things are going pretty good. Hardware-wise, we're done. I mean, once I get the SD cards program shoved in, we button them up, and once we determine the final disk drive, we start shipping product. So we're really in a good position here, assuming obviously I'm going to ship the system to Sean. That's a mouthful. Before we do the long-term test, but it's looking like these things should be going out pretty quickly here. If this StarTech controller does what I think it's going to do after about 2 or 3 days of running, we've actually had it run longer than that and fail. But Sean will get it right away so he can do the testing as well. And then Bill and Kung and myself will be testing. I've got 2 systems running at home. So overall, we're looking really good shape. I'm really happy. I wanted to be at this position in January, but such is life. Excuse me. And at this point, I will hand it over to Bill.
Okay. Thanks, John. I've been working on the data controller log management so we can upload the daily log of the runtime data collection along with the rest of the data, and that will be compressed format, so won't be a big file. I integrated Dave Witten's latest changes for the magnetometer data collection, which are really good. He's got the local temperature now working, so we have remote and local temp measurements, and also he upgraded the accuracy of the magnetometer readings that RunMag, the previous progenitor program of what we're using now, was using, and it's something called the NOS register. I don't know what that is, but he got that working. So now our readings are very, very close to the RunMag readings. I'm going to be working on the error status that John mentioned with Kung to show any error information that is happening during data acquisition onto the console. so we can react to it. And I drew a diagram of the software that can be used in John's presentation at HamSci.
Yep, I got that. It looks fantastic. Thank you.
And that's it for me.
Okay,
Oh.
the other thing is we are automatically detecting the magnetometer as well. We go out and look at its, I think it's firmware rev register, and if we don't get the right number back, we say it's not there. That is in and working now, so I automatically detect the magnetometer. The one thing I will forewarn people, if they plug an Ethernet cable into the magnetometer's jack, it will fry it because we're putting power out. We're not limiting power.
Yeah, don't do that.
Don't do that. In fact, on most of the systems, unless you requested a magnetometer, I may put a piece of tape over the hole. It's on the back side of the logic board and it's through the panel, but just the same, I don't want to cause undue frustration.
You
What
fried,
gets damaged? Is it the Grape 2 or the device that's plugged in?
Well, it puts 5 volts across your two of the pins on, actually 4 of the pins on the Ethernet cable, so your router gets hit. And
Okay,
it's
it's not
like
the
an
Grape
amp.
2. Okay.
Yeah, but it does put the Grape 2's 6-amp power supply into current limit. So you get an idea what kind of current it's trying to push. So there's no way to recover from that in terms of hardware right now. I could put a fuse in there, but that's too late for that.
these are spicy grapes.
Yeah, they've got a bite.
Wild grapes.
Wild grapes, yeah.
Ghost grapes.
And with that, I'll push it to Kung and follow up on that one.
Yeah, I like the idea of putting tape over there or something, some sort of a warning, because I could see that
Yeah,
being
it's
a
an easy
problem.
mistake to make. And
Yeah,
I've done it.
that
I
is
mean,
a
I've-
very easy mistake to make.
RJ45s look the same, so.
Yeah.
Kung, what do you have for updates?
Yeah, so you mentioned a lot of the stuff that I've been doing already. Yeah, I've been tracking down some very persistent bugs. It's been a few weeks now. Hopefully, the last patches have fixed them. Um, yeah, sometimes so right now the console is collecting its GPS information directly from the GPS module now instead of through the data controller. Yeah, and sometimes the checksum would fail and that would cause an error on the console, and all that is resolved now. And yeah, and I stripped down the GPS console. I mean the Grape console to create the GPS test program that John mentioned. Yeah, and hopefully now it's just making sure that everything is reliable. That's it for me.
Okay. In answer to last week's question to Gary, there are 6 people total that have contributed to making the Grape 2 case marathon. Other than myself, it was Dave Schwartz, Bill Engelke, Dave Hinnerman, Ken Milnes, and Matthew Wishiel. So I think there was a total of 6 of us that were making cases, and we got them all done. So
Would now be a good time for me to show the Grape
yes,
2 case poster?
yes, yes.
Wonderful.
That is
I will
amazing.
show that, and then we can make comments, and then I can get it sent off for printing. So Majid put this together. This is design and printing, 3D printing of Grape 2 cases.
SolidWorks. Okay, that explains a few things. This man knows what he's doing. Yeah, the contours of the panels, because if you look at the box in the upper left corner, you can see that the sides have a little bit of a rounding to it with a large radius. He matched those things on the cover to within 5 thousandths along the entire contour. Just completely blew my mind. I don't know how he did it. And the hole line for the screws is within 1,000th. He nailed it. I mean, it's just, I can't say enough thanks for the work he did, because it's just spot on, and I could not have envisioned it being done any better than the way he did it. So
That's great.
give him some personal thanks, Nathaniel, because he did a phenomenal job on this.
I will, and he'll be there next week, so
Oh,
you can
excellent.
talk to him
Good.
in person.
Good, good.
So do you have anyone want to make any changes or suggestions for this before I hit the print button?
Let's just make sure we've got the names correct in the bottom right-hand corner again. Maybe zoom in on the final printing and assembly section.
Yeah,
don't
I
wanna
did not
embarrass-
get any boxes from D. White or M. Mokatari.
That's Majid.
That's
Yeah,
Majid.
that's
Oh,
Majid.
okay. I did get some from him. Yes, that's 7. Okay. But the D. White doesn't look familiar. I just checked all my boxes.
Okay, that's funny because I've got an email from it. Says 2 sets hit UPS yesterday afternoon on February 24th.
Okay.
They were purple with yellow fronts. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, leave his name in there then. I probably got him and maybe the box got tossed or something. But
right. Thanks.
yeah, that looks good, Nathaniel. My production line is festive.
Yes, I like it. Now, Christina wrote an email saying if there's time to archive the design to Zenodo and put the
Oh.
DOI for that on here. Is there time to do that, or is that beyond the scope of what we have before I hit print?
I would think that'd be because you have to post it on the website, which is really a Gary question. But he's posted other stuff before. This is just a couple of files. I would think that should be straightforward.
You have it on what do you call it? You have it on GitHub right now, right?
I believe so under the Grape 2 stuff. Yeah, I've got his files that he sent me, but I can get those to Gary pretty easy.
Well, didn't we have some trouble, Nathaniel, with Zenodo a month or 2 back? There was an access problem when Bill tried to put the image up there for the DRF.
Yes, but that was a very large. That was like a 50 gigabyte thing. So
Yeah, that would definitely throw up on it.
yeah, it'll be less of an issue with this.
Okay, Christina just dropped a note into the chat because. So just to be sure, right now the files are the STL files are on the
Right.
Hamsci website,
Well,
but they're not generally available because I didn't really need to show everybody and their brother the printing page, but we can certainly change that.
Right. So let me, it's on the, could someone post the GitHub link in there again really quickly?
I don't have the one that
Thank-
I'm using is for the software firmware for the Grape 2. It's not associated with your GitHub.
Do you want to put in the GT user repository, John?
Oh, I guess we could put it in there. Let me work with you on that, Nathaniel.
Okay, if someone can just post the GitHub address repo in the chat again, then I can put it on the poster.
The
And
problem with mine is it's private and then you have to be assigned to get
But
into it. So.
I thought there was
Yeah, there is another one for Hamsci. I should pop it up into that one.
yeah, Grape. I think it's on the website here.
Yeah, let me.
The STL files. All right, the Prusa files are there.
So if I put it on the Hamsci GitHub, it should be all right.
Yeah.
Okay, I will do that.
All right. So yeah, then just email me the address or something. If you can do that by today,
Yes.
and I'll get it sent off by tomorrow.
Okay.
And then we'll get yet another poster off to printing.
Can do.
I'll put the code right before the final printing and assembly section.
Also, a quick request to Sean. could you send me your email to jcg66@case.edu? Juliet Charlie Golf 66@case.edu.
Will do.
Thank you.
Anything else on hardware or software?
I don't have anything else that I can think of, but if something comes up, I'll chirp in, but I'll try and stay off the. Back to
Okay.
that.
I have done a little bit of checking into the shipping. Apparently, Case has some deal with FedEx where we have like an express account or business account or something.
Yes.
So we're 3 boxes.
Oh,
I don't know what the code is for this, but I've been talking to some people at W80BU and they think that we should be able to get a certain number of free boxes through FedEx for this.
sure. Or we do it 10 at a time. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not
feel-
proud. I can go up and grab 10 boxes.
caveat is I'm not sure if they'll let us just walk in and be like, I need 30 boxes. But I'll look into that and I'll get bubble wrap while I'm here with
I'm on a first name basis with the guy at the counter, so I've done a lot of shipping.
That's fair.
We'll make
Um, yes. Any updates from you, Gary?
None, but except I guess a question for John. You sent out some correspondence regarding the wireless and stuff. You know, most I guess we're a little unsure. I know you're right about the metal cases cover up the wireless antenna, but we had a discussion here about a month ago, and the New England Grape guys said we've kind of got the same situation in the DRF, and yet it's working. So, I mean, do we really have to limit these to wired installations or not? Because that's pretty important to know.
Well,
before
I
we.
wanted to make the connection to the Grape itself through a wired internet, and you can take that to a wireless hub. But problem is even though if you see it, you don't understand how many times it's taking the retransmissions to get the packet through. And that kind of IO, excessive IO for trying to transmit something is going to be problematic for our situation. So I really don't want to get into that before April 8th. After April 8th, we could probably figure it out, but before that, no. I don't want to mess with it because that could be a showstopper.
Okay, so what?
And I
guess
also
what,
made a comment about putting the wireless extension or a hub on the USB 2 port. And then I realized we really can't do that either because we're maxing out that chip with the Pico data transfer. You wouldn't think it would, the numbers don't make sense, but when I put it on a logic analyzer, we're running that controller at about 85 to 90% with our data transfer stuff. So it does not have any headroom to push like a wireless hub or wireless anything or anything that has any bandwidth to it, bandwidth usage. So both ports are going to be pretty well tied up.
So I guess what does that mean for rates when I ship any things? Because I mean, I've got correspondence from all the hosts. Some of them have come back and said, yeah, I've got plenty of wired ports. Jim K4BSE, for example, said I can wire it in, no problem. But
Okay.
if there's somebody that's, got their, and literally if somebody's got their out in the pasture somewhere and wireless is their only option, do we not want to ship them one or what do we do?
At this point, I would say we don't. I don't have enough time to determine how to mitigate that issue. But I have seen it cause IO issues before on our installation, and I simply don't have the time to mitigate it. We may be able to make it work down the road, but for April 8th, no. If they can't wire it or they can't wire it into a wireless hub and go that way, then we'll have to find somebody else. Like I say, this is the integration period where we sort of sort these things all out, and we're just starting it now. And we're trying to ship products, so it's a tumultuous time to be making those kinds of decisions because that could be catastrophic.
Okay, so I'll go back to the correspondence and see how many of the 27 or 28 people said they had to be wireless, and we'll see if if 2 or 3 fall out, that's fine. But if it ends up being 50%, then we
Well,
got
then the
some
next
head
question to
scratching.
ask them is, could they take a wire from the Grape into a wireless hub and go that way?
I
Is
mean, yeah,
Or
I mean,
access
technically
point, you
that's
mean?
fine. But then you may be asking people to go out and buy a wireless hub and
Right,
configure
right.
it and get it
And
on
if
their
they can't-
Wi-Fi and all that.
If they
so.
can't do it, they can't do it. I mean, we'll just move on. We don't have the bandwidth right now to determine what's going on with that, so. Since it is such a high risk issue, I don't want to mess with it.
Okay, understood. I can, that's the second option then. Okay.
I mean, I really don't like to do that, but right now, that's my only option for a guaranteed path down the road to reliable operation. And that's really what it comes down to, because you can make it work and it works most of the time, but every now and then you see things start slowing down, and that's when it gets into a retry conflagration on the port, because its output power is so minimal. And these cases are pretty good Faraday cages. So, and the ones that were used, actually, that answers the question. The ones that were used on digital RF were not a case that enclosed the board. The edge of the board and the antenna was exposed on those. So those would work.
John, just so you know, we do use a wireless USB dongle with a
Yeah.
high gain antenna and some
That's
of ours.
exactly what I can't have put on the USB port because of the
Right,
bandwidth.
I understand that.
But yeah, but the digital RF heat sinks, if I remember correctly, I was looking at it last night. You can see the edge of the board on the Pi. It's not encapsulating the board, it's just top and bottom. So the antenna in the upper right corner of the board is exposed, so that would work because the antenna has a way to get out. In the cases we are using, it's a complete Faraday cage around it. So,
Okay, well, that's
Right.
the clarity I needed. I'll dig through the records and figure out today where we're at.
that makes more sense now that I think about it for digital RF, because yes, you could use wireless for that. In fact,
Okay, that's it for me.
I think mine at home is wireless as well. Back to net.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns on the Grape 2 then? So we're not meeting next week. So if you have questions before HAMSI,
Well,
speak now.
we are meeting, but it's a much more personal meeting.
That's fair. But we
There's
won't have
always a great Google group too to keep in touch with one another. So
any updates on either of the websites.
Gary's been doing a fantastic job on that, by the way.
yeah, nothing for me to add. Nothing new.
Okay. In which case we are down to, I actually think we're missed an open business somewhere in here.
Oh, this is Mike Bass, WA9TKK. I have a comment.
Sure.
I was looking up my Amazon order. I'm using for Wi-Fi. I had some intermittent connections, so I bought a TP-Link AC1200 Wi-Fi extender, and I have that connected to with an Ethernet port going into the Raspberry Pi. So that works very well. And I see the current price on Amazon is $26.99. So I can send that link to anybody if they're interested.
Yes, I use those. They're very, very handy. A little bit slower than going right to the router if you're close enough, but not if you're not.
Could you post
Yeah.
that to the chat?
Yeah, because you post that, I want to look at that, because that sounds like what we're looking.
Good morning.
How did you sleep?
What?
How did you sleep?
Rob, you're not muted.
I just muted him.
I may be premature, but am I able to substitute a GPS antenna? This is a Symmetricon L1 antenna that offers a advantage in mounting at my particular
Sure.
site.
I actually use one of the same ones. just make sure it'll run on 3.3 volts.
Thank you.
The current on that and it wants to be less than 30 mils, 50 mils. I'm not sure what the U-Blox gets upset with, but it'll shut down if the current's too high. That's really what you're going to be working against. The antenna itself works fine. But I don't have it directly tied to a Grape yet. I haven't tried
I'm
that.
not sure those do work on 3.3.
Yeah, the older ones worked only on 5.
Yeah, I think those are only 5. I've got a whole bunch of those. Those are the ubiquitous timing antenna.
Oh yeah, they work great, but
just while we're talking GPS antennas, I've run into an interesting one. I have a bunch of Rosenberger antennas, which are very available, but they must have a big inrush current. And some of my GPSs, they pull like 30 amps, 30 milliamps current, which is fine, or maybe up to 45, somewhere around there. Anyway, they're fine for steady current, but the GPS won't start it up.
I've run into that problem with the Adafruit module. I was trying to run those things, and I actually had to add a diode to the power supply to feed the thing from another supply rail because it would droop the supply and kill it. But yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, the inrush current's way too high.
Whereas those Symmetricom / HP / Panasonic, it's actually made by Panasonic. Those work fine. Good gain.
Also run across some of the little mag mount ones they sell on Amazon. They don't work for the US satellite ones. They're only European. And you put them on there and you get like 0 satellites. It's like, what's going on? It's dead. And
that doesn't make sense. They're all on the same band.
Yeah, well, they jump around a little bit, but yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either, but they just didn't work. And I changed it and went from one satellite dropping in and out to 12 solid satellites. So it was, and I have confirmed that with a guy who does this stuff for a living. And yeah, there are some GPS antennas that you need to stay away from because there's basically 3 different ones that are made in the modules. Anyway.
Yeah. The Motorola / Synergy ones work well. They're lower gain, but they're good antennas.
Usually they have about 26 dB a gain.
Those are 26, right?
Yeah.
And the Symmetricom is 31 dB gain.
That sounds
the Rosenbergers have 36 dB gain.
Oh my gosh.
So they pick up a lot of satellites, but as I say, some of our GPS units don't like to power.
Makes sense. Back to net, Rachel.
Cool. Does anyone have any other questions, comments, or concerns on the Grape 2 or any other things that they would like to discuss?
I had just sent a message to Rob Robinette in the chat, and I was just wondering if you could answer that, either in the chat or live.
Okay. Anything for public discussion or questions? Any news about HamSci that we want to share or hype?
We are on track with the HamSci workshop. The agenda and the abstracts are posted. If you are giving a talk, look for a link that I will hopefully get out to you in the next day or so about where to post your talk. So we'll have all of the oral presentations all on the same computer. So we don't need to change computers as we're going along. I'll continue following up on posters. If anyone has any questions about logistics, feel free to contact Celisa or me or another member of the committee.
How is these virtual Zoom calls going to be arranged?
So the virtual Zoom call is, if you go to the website right now, hamsci.org/hamsci2024, there is a link where you can register to be a virtual participant.
I think I've done that.
Yep. So if you've done that, you are good. And on the day of, I will either myself, we'll have people who are dedicated to monitoring the Zoom. And if you're presenting, we will make you like a co-host or give you presentation privileges or something like that.
Excellent.
So, but otherwise, we're using a Zoom large meeting, which is basically the same thing as we have here. It just has a capacity of up to 1,000 people.
Mhm.
So, you know, unlike a webinar, it's going to allow us to be interactive and hopefully, you know, hopefully give you as much of a feel as you're in the room as possible.
Good.
I'm not promising it will be perfect, but
That owl camera thing that you have is kind of gives a suboptimal view of things. Just to
yes,
say.
it will not be perfect.
Oh yeah.
So there, Jason Johnston will also be there streaming on YouTube. So if you want an alternative view of what's going on, you can follow the YouTube link, and that will probably give you a different view from someone who's actually paying attention to what the view actually looks like.
And where will the YouTube address be posted?
If you go to Ham Radio 2.0 on YouTube, I can find that link. So Jason Johnston is a YouTuber. It should be on his channel.
Okay, I'll look. Thank you.
Here, I can put that in the chat now.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that TP-Link Wi-Fi extender looks like exactly what we're looking for.
It's a nice price too.
$27. Yeah, you can't beat it. So thank you.
Okay,
Thank you to whoever posted that.
Yeah, that was Mike. If that's the case, I'll need that information because if I need to contact people, I want to be able to tell them that.
Yeah. It's on Amazon. So
Okay, I've got Mike's email address. I'll get it from him.
the links in the meeting
Minutes.
they're staring right at you. I actually had to hand type that. Think of terrible.
Yeah, could you put it in the chat itself?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I can save the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, I was on a different computer. I'm on the Zoom call on the tablet, and I had to go to my computer to email that to
you.
I got it. Thank
Great.
you, Mike. That's perfect.
Thank you.
That's going to be a big help.
Cool.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I suppose we can head out early.
This is unheard of.
That's
John, do you want me to send you an email asking for that GitHub link?
Yes.
Or, okay, great.
Yes,
I will do that.
That would be a good idea.
Okay, thanks.
Very
But again, because that's the last thing. I'm very excited to get these posters printed.
Yeah.
So that's the last thing I need for that one. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Wait a minute. There's been a number of emails from the Ham Exposition people from the presentation group. Rachel should get into that loop.
Fair.
Okay, I'll send her that, Stan. I'll take care of that.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. See you at the 4 p.m. meeting.
73.
73.
88.
80.